It's going to be a very Hey everybody, it's 11:30 on the East Coast. I'm your host, the Purple Smurf. Who is the Purple Smurf? What does he believe? What does he think? Find out tonight. No, I'm kidding, you won't. But the point is that this is a creative hour and a half talk and draw with comic creators, and I call this a digital campfire. So we're sitting around the campfire, we're talking about creativity. Hey, Hex Allen is joining us and just see what happens. My guest tonight is going to be the creative team from Battle Brick Road. This is Zeb Hatfield, who's live with me now, and
Hello.
also Hex Allen, who's another writer. Hex, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, well, we told everybody that this is going to be the lowest rated show of all time because we're going to talk about writing.
Oh, see you guys.
See you later. I thought we were going to talk about like blowing things up, and heat vision.
AAT.
But it's been good. Yeah, AAT. But it's been good. Zeb and I have been rapping already, and it's just been a lot of fun. And Eric will be on, and I think a few other people might stop by. But like I say, I usually have my music. I don't know if Hex you've ever heard my theme song, but it's really good. But I'm working from a different computer today, and nothing's working. I can't even share audio. So you're just gonna hear my my rap without the beat. But anyway, let me just
you could
open
just
up.
do you could just sing like a mouth version of the song for us.
Yeah, I could just
riff off a solo.
I'll just beatbox. Let me get my flute. I'll do beatbox flute.
Yeah.
I hear that's hip with the kids. All right. So anyway, this is the digital campfire. We're all comic book creators. It's 11:30 on the East Coast. Just stop by, sit down, talk a while, get up, leave. But creative people talking about things is interesting. And on this show, we don't do trashing or bashing. If you have a favorite creator, boost them up. If you have someone you don't like, just you don't have to support them. No, we're not all best friends, but whatever. Just don't do. But we want to focus on the people that we are boosting and build some positivity. So and I've got a campaign live right now, Tales of Zero. Hex, your campaign, the Nephilim Squadron.
Yeah.
How's that doing?
Yeah. It's doing okay. It's chugging along.
Chugging along. All right. Awesome. And then Battle Brick Road. That's crushing it. Are you guys up near 70 or what's the number right?
To be honest, I haven't even checked recently. I kind of have entered a space where, as the writer, where I hand the ball off. And,
your work is done. That's right.
Right. And, as past some of the initial campaign stuff, I've just sort of moved on to some of the other projects I've been working on and haven't even looked. I know that it was over 70,000 the last time I looked, but I'm not really sure where it sets at this point.
Awesome. Well, we're just living in a great era. I say this every time I'm on the air, but we're living in the best time for indie comics since 1986.
Yeah.
In 1986,
the year I was born, so it was a great year all around.
I was 11, so I'm 11 years old. But let me tell you, like when the Turtles broke,
all
of a sudden there was this belief that you could have like a cool black and white comic and it could become something. So the indie scene exploded. Everybody thought they might have the next Turtles, and great things happened that year. Just great things,
Sure.
So we're now joined by Jim O'Reilly, a fantastic artist.
Hey,
Hello.
Jim.
But what's happening in this little convergence of time is that we have high quality small batch printing. You can print your comic at a very high quality at a small batch. You remember the days when you could have a rock band, and in order to have a CD, you had to print 3,000 CDs. That's how it used to be with print files too. But now you can really do it. We have social media, we have live streaming, we have Twitter, we have print on demand. You can be your own publisher. You can be your own ad agency. So this is a time like no other to be in indie comics. So super exciting time. And then the fact that we can connect with creators that we don't even know. I can just say, hey, Zeb Hatfield, I've never chatted with you before, but I dig Battle Brick Road, and let's just get together and talk. Yeah. So
Right.
Frog G in the chat says 77,000 for Battle Brick Road. I'm working right now, Zeb, on clearing 1,000, but I'm real close. I'm at 913. But
Awesome.
for an unknown person just trying to get a base hit, that's all I'm trying to do. Just show that I can do it and show that I can deliver. So I have no delusion of big money on my first campaign, or my second, or my third, or my fourth, but maybe.
Absolutely.
By the fourth, come on.
Yeah, fourth. Yeah. And then Jim, your art is on a bunch of campaigns right now. Do you want to run down some of those?
Sure. The most notable right now is the Embrace that I did a cover for. It was originally a pinup, and then it got turned into a cover, and then a foil cover.
Well, I think the Embrace, it's only been live for a couple weeks and it's still climbing. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think
So
that's gonna go big, I think.
yeah. And I just finished one up for an upcoming. I believe it's going to start as a Kickstarter, maybe an Indiegogo, called Tragedy by Philip Russell. I did a cover for him, but he's got a ton of variant covers. I think it's like 14 total guys going to town, on variant covers. And I actually just finished up a kind of comedic pinup for Don Chin for the Beard Zerker, which is a parody of Keanu Reeves' Berserker comic.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Don had done like a hamster parody, an X-Force parody, X-Force parody.
Great.
Yeah.
He's great. I was talking about 1986, because I'm old, but I bought those comics. I bought those hamster comics when they were new, and they were hysterical. Oh my God, they were so good. I have a little kid a couple doors down, and I may need to go check on her. So you guys keep the conversation, okay? Sure. Keep it going. I'll be back.
All right. So Hex, your project was called Nephilim Squadron. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. That sounds very interesting. I'm familiar a little bit with the concept of Nephilim, so I'm interested to hear the premise of your story.
Oh, great! Yeah. It's a sci-fi fantasy or war story that takes place in the 28th century.
Okay.
And the name is more metaphorical as to what goes on with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an ancient mythological tale being told on a meta level that's hidden, behind the scenes, and it's revealed later on in later volumes.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool.
But yeah, I'm also interested in mythology and esotericism and Gnosticism and all that.
Right.
So, there are signs and symbols throughout the book, and hints at as to what's to come.
Very cool.
But on the surface, it's the story of a cloned fighter pilot who's on a personal journey to find a soul for himself. But through the course of his journey, he discovers that his destiny is larger than just having a soul, and that's where the macro story comes in.
Sure. Cool. Very cool.
Oh, nice to meet you, by the way, Zed.
You as well.
Well, the host has returned. For what that's worth, Eric, glad to have you with us.
And Jim, never met you before either.
Good to be here. What's up?
Yeah, Jim is super cool, man. I think Jim's art is just fantastic and a super cool guy.
Do not spread that rumor. My art is horrible.
All right.
Yeah, we all say that.
Spread that rumor.
All right. Like guys, I keep it going. If I have to run out, I have a little kid a couple doors down, and she might need me. But Eric, good to have you. The most electrifying artist in comics.
Well, maybe the most electrifying letterer.
But the thing, people used to say electrifying letterer, but I think you should get some props for drawing too.
Yeah,
thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah. I'm real glad Eric's here now because I don't have to letter any of my chat right now. Like Eric letters, I think everything.
On my shoulder.
All right, so
he's lettering the chat right now.
Yeah.
And it looks
lettering everything.
It
looks great.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the show proper a little bit. This is also a drawing show, and so I don't know who's going to draw while we talk about this. I call it the digital campfire because you're sitting around like the old timey. You're like whittling, and you keep your hands busy, and conversation flows. You have something you're fidgeting with, and conversation flows. So like I find that when I'm drawing and chatting, just everything flows, and then also people can be in the chat drawing along. You might meet someone, see something. So it's just a good place for people to see, who's doing what and what style. So our prompt is wizards. I don't know if you saw my sketch. Did you see my sketch, Eric?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Did you dig it?
Yes, I did. It's a good start.
I thought so too.
Traditionally, or.
Yeah, no, it's all going to be pencil and pen, and I'm using my light box here, so I just draw the loose pencil and then I go over it on a separate piece of paper and pen, and that's what I'll be doing live, baby.
So I did half of Battle Brick Road was done on a light box.
Yeah, Lightbox is a misunderstood and wonderful thing, you know.
Absolutely.
Once you
Who
get to used to it,
misunderstands that?
oh well, I don't know. I didn't understand it until I started using one. Then I went back to all the Marvel comics I grew up with, and I was like, ah, dang, okay, you know, it's just awesome, you know. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And the theme is wizard, which is just loosely off of the Wizard of Oz Battle Brick Road. But my wizard is Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, who had the song The Wizard, and you know, basically just reinvented the electric guitar in his image.
Yeah.
So I tried to mix Gandalf, the famous Lord of the Rings poster, with the sword coming straight down, and I put Tony Iommi in the Gandalf pose with the guitar. So yeah, it looks like some Van art. This definitely could be Van art, you know, put on a Van. Totally. Or just like what a lot of my art looks like, because I'm a writer first, a color second, just an artist for fun, is that it all looks like stuff I used to draw in my textbooks in high school. You know, I look at my own drawings. I'm like, dude, I remember drawing just like this when I was at 15 years old. That's why it's funny to draw, you know, on the same show as people who are really artists, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, make sure he's missing part of his ring finger.
Oh my gosh. Not only did I not even get into the missing fingers, but I drew him holding a right-handed guitar, so I suck.
Terrible.
I know. It hasn't hit the light box yet. I should just reverse the pick guard and pretend.
Flip it over.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to flip the pick guard with the inks. All right. With that being said, let's get this show on the road. I advertised this as we're going to actually talk about writing. So we know we're going to have no viewers, 0 viewers, because nobody ever cares. And I said in a little private talk with Zeb and Eric that I started out as a writer and I couldn't get any interest. So I started coloring. I started coloring other people's line art because the only way I could get anybody to notice me on social media. And then I felt I actually got good at coloring a little bit. You know, I started to look at my own pieces and be like, that's actually pretty good. And then by coloring people's work, I made connections. And then, you know, finally I could find an artist and I showed my artist a script. And then, oh, you have a script? Oh, you can draw? I can color? Hey, you know, we have 3/4 of a creative team and only 2 people. So that's sort of like, hey, Aldous, that's sort of like how I got started, how Purple Smurf went from like me with a whole bunch of scripts that nobody will ever know about to me actually trying to break 1,000 on my first campaign, which for me is huge. You know, who am I? I'm nobody. So if I get like 40, 60 backers, that's a grand slam for me. You know what I mean? That's huge.
Campaign.
Sure.
Yes. So I'm liking where I'm at right now. You know, I'm just coming on. No one's heard of me, but if I hit a good base hit out on this campaign, you know, I've got room to grow. But let's talk about.
You act like you've been here before.
Yeah, but let's talk about writing, because Hex, you're a writer first too. Is that true?
I consider myself a better writer than an artist. Yeah.
And then and you know, Zeb, you're the writer in chief. But as we were joking earlier, your work's already done for Battle Brick Road. You know, you're handed the ball off and everything.
For the most part, there's always those things that happen and change and adapt. As Eric is going through the script, we'll hit moments where we're like, hey, Eric will text me and say, hey, visually this works a lot better, but that kind of affects this, or we need to give here's a stinger for you. We need to give Dorothy a rifle, and then how do we deal with that in a way that like affects the things visually and then translates into a changed script in ways that you don't necessarily think, you know, as you look at it from the outside would affect much, but sometimes those little things can adjust and change. But for the most part, absolutely. You know, once I hand Eric the script, there's adjustments and changes, but for the most part, like the weight is wholly and firmly placed upon his capable Odin-like shoulder. He's Atlas now. He's Atlas holding up what is the globe of the Battle Brick Road. So
absolutely, he's got the Captain America shirt, the flowing locks.
That's right. That's right.
He's not
and God help us if he ever cuts those locks. It's a real Samson situation we have in our favor right now. So.
Yeah. He's like our own Asgardian, really. Oh man, the electrifying letterer. All right, so what Zeb and I were talking about. All right, let's start up a topic for anybody who writes at all. Like when you like dig into your voice, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. What do you go back to? Like, even if it's not comics, like for me, one thing I go back to is film noir. And I was telling Zeb, I find that film noir has some of the best dialogue don't know if you ever seen like Double Indemnity and a lot of those old Humphrey Bogart pictures, but oh my God, they're so good. The dialogue is like, it's so sharp, and you could just close your eyes and it just takes you somewhere. The rhythm of the dialogue, how terse it can be, how, in my opinion, one of the best things of all is when people are talking about things that aren't the subject. So like they're in the room with the thing and they're like, well, it's going to be a while. Yeah. Like they don't talk about the thing, right?
Right.
And that's how you
body is on the floor right in front of them, and you want them to address the scene, but instead they're talking about like the burger they ate for lunch.
Exactly. So like, I tried to do that in the first part of Tales of Zero, where like you're like, these guys are just talking about something. Are they going to get to it? But you can build up so much tension that way.
Well, and also doing that, I think you create a sense of realism that you don't get when every line of dialogue is specifically written to deliver you from point A of plot to point B of plot. When you have that natural sort of momentum of real life conversation, it's why really, you can tell, if there's a director out there who really embraces that format in a way that's very well known, it's Quentin Tarantino, who will take
absolutely
dialogue and expand nothing topics into some of the most interesting scenes where you're like, holy crap, these people have been sitting and talking for 7 minutes about nothing. Why do I care? Why am I engaged in this?
Totally. Yeah, I liked I don't know if you guys like, one of my favorite Tarantino movies are Kill Bill 2 and Death Proof. I don't know if you guys like Death Proof, but I just love Death Proof. But he had that monologue in the first one, the Robert Rodriguez one, the zombie planet or whatever. Do you remember that scene when he comes in and he's the doctor? So he just eats that scene up, and it's all exactly what you're saying. He's talking about nothing.
Yeah.
But it's the best scene in the whole movie, Galaxy of Terror or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And Terror. Oh man, he just comes in. It's a cameo. He has a cameo in Rodriguez film, and so he just comes in and he's just like the doctor, and he's just talking about doctor stuff, and it's totally like Hitchcock cameo kind of thing, but it's so good. So yeah, absolutely. His ear for dialogue is impeccable, 100%. And then I think you and me, Hex, we both love like anime from the 80s. And I also love that, I actually like bad dubs. I'm sorry, I do.
Oh, I always listen to the original language. I can't stand it.
I like the original language, and I like the 80s dubs. Do you know what I mean? I don't like it. I don't like some contemporary dubs, but I like the old, very stilted, awkward dubs, and I like the original language. But
and you know what?
My wheelhouse.
What's that?
We'll get to you. Okay. All right. And what else for you, Hex? Just like when you're just digging for that voice.
Usually I try to remember like just incidental dialogue I hear on the street when I was younger, like on the bus or nowadays at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
And you pick up a lot of you could just craft all kinds of stories from what people are saying as they pass by, and a lot of it I try to remember and I take notes just to use as incidental dialogue and also like I'm not sure. There's not like really a lot of use of overlapping dialogue like you would see in from a cinematic reference. I guess like Robert Altman uses a lot of like overlapping dialogue.
Yep.
And I'd like to use like a lot more of that, or see more of that in at least in comics, because it's also part of the visual design, when you're designing text flow and things like that.
Yeah, to achieve that kind of overlapping dialogue, you have to have basically the best letterer living. There's because you can write it, but the visual flow of the panel. So like
the Jesus Christ pose.
Yeah, but it's like you remember how, and then there were some stories coming out recently about how Chris Claremont, he needed to have the best letterer, and he did. And I mean, his books would have been kind of unreadable without the mega talent, that could put all those words.
Balloons. Yeah.
Oh my God! And so you really do need that, especially if you're going to try something like a overlapping. But Zeb, what about you? What's your go-to just in terms of the writer's voice?
Honestly, it varies for me project to project, and I think that comes from my roots in songwriting. That's really where my writing began, is in writing songs. I've written songs for like 16 plus years, and that always starts as sort of its own journey based off of whatever the subject matter is for the song, right? So, I mean, if you're writing a song about the Dust Bowl, then you start with different roots than if you're writing a song about some modern love issue. And so, really, for me, it comes down to like, what is the thing I'm trying to write, and what is the subject matter at hand, and then what do I feel like are voices that sort of speak into what energies I want to inject into that, if that makes sense at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was the kind of person that I could sit down, and if I get in the zone and I start to hear like the characters speak in my imagination, oh my God, once you get that connection, it's amazing what can happen.
I think one of the things I would say that overlaps basically all projects for me is typically I'm a very big film score fan. And so what it typically consists of is I will have an idea, or, Eric and I will talk about Battle Brick Road, and then I will go on and I will find and listen to scores until I hit a certain vibe that seems to be, channeling some of that, like that same kind of energy that I want to bring to a particular scene. A lot of times, most stories in my mind start with like, well, how would I put this in a trailer? What would I show in a trailer that represents sort of this core feel, like this, deeper feel, and then what do I do with that? So all of my projects typically start with developing kind of like my own personal playlist of these are the songs that sort of fit a theme or a scene or a moment or the entirety of the project.
That's a cool idea. I never thought of building a playlist first. It's almost like a mood board, right?
Yeah, very much
like
so.
Audio mood board. That's a very cool idea. That's a very cool idea. Jim, are you drawing anything wizard related?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, guys. I was totally ignoring you guys, and I was.
That's fine. This is the campfire. This is the campfire. You don't have to pay attention.
I was busy backing this campaign called Battle Brick Road.
Oh yeah, you backed it. Nice.
I haven't heard of that one.
Dude,
That's
Eric,
Well, welcome to 2020.
Weather. Oh yeah. How the hell did I miss this? Like, what have I been under a rock? What the? Wow. Yeah, this thing looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Eric,
you're doing all the art on this?
Yes, I am.
So you're a double threat guy. You don't just letter. You.
I know.
I draw. Yeah,
He's an all threat kind of guy, really. If you get down to it,
I'm out to just destroy.
Well, yeah, white male. He's a complete
oh my gosh,
straight white male.
Son of a God!
You're the biggest.
Dang, this looks good.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I don't know what you guys were talking about, but it's not comparing to that. You guys need to have you guys seen Battle Brick Road?
Oh yeah. Listen,
Ed has.
Seriously, fantastic work, Eric. Man.
Thank you.
Yes,
loving that. I am like so late.
So,
yeah,
but
all
right,
this is a lot of work that. For those of you who may have had my previous work, who got Flying Fortress, there's a big difference between the two books in terms of art quality. Definitely in terms of writing as well. I decided I needed to farm that out. I needed to find somebody within arm's reach, really, that could.
Just close your eyes, spin in a circle, and see who you can touch first, kind of thing.
That's right. It was like a non middle school version of Spin the Bottle.
Oh gosh.
Or maybe middle school. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, there could be some middle school.
There was beer involved, though.
Yeah,
there was beer involved.
The name of my show is There Will Be Ink. So yeah, there can be beer too. Yeah.
There you go.
There will be beer. So yeah, but what about Flying Fortress and what about Battle Brick Road? So what was take us into the inception of just the idea, Eric? Like the idea comes out of you at the blue sky, because Flying Fortress is a time travel, World War II, right?
Yeah. Flying Fortress. The pitch that I gave for so many years is it was a story about a B-17 crew, set in World War II. They go on a secret mission to bomb Hitler, and they get shot down and crash land in the Middle Ages.
Mm.
And then it's the story about them figuring out how they got there and how to get home. That whole thing was sort of one of those instances of hanging out with some friends and playing the "Wouldn't it be cool if" game. And I took myself too seriously and decided that I was going to make a comic book series out of it.
Nice.
So I don't know. The rest is history, I guess. I mean, I learned how to make comics by doing it. The friend that I made it with, Andy Moore, we kind of co-wrote it, sort of co-created it together, and for it sat there for a year, and I was doing sketches and things like that, and never really went forward with the idea. And then, in like December, he calls me up and said, "Hey, what are you doing in April?" And I was like, I don't plan next day's lunch. I don't know what I'm doing in April.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, we're going to go to Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, so we got to get a book made. And that was the catalyst. That was him just be like, oh, hey, by the way, that's the door, and we're 30,000 feet up, and I'm pushing you out.
Wow, okay.
So through several years and iterations on how we set up the story to sort of how we wanted to eventually, we course corrected as every issue we course corrected more towards where we wanted it to end up. But I've spent 7 or 8 years on that book.
Wow.
Let's see, 2007 years. And then when I was done, I was done. It kind of burnt me out because it was a lot of work. I did co-wrote it, draw, pencil, letter, color, ink, every aspect, put it together for print, hit the cons, do all that stuff. And it just it wore me down. So I sort of gave up comics. I was like, I think I can probably not do comics for a little while. So I started doing digital painting and thought, hey, I would like to do some concept art stuff. And I sort of found a knack for painting. It sort of just comes naturally. And I think it was probably all those years of just trying to make a pencil turn paper into something cool that a good drawing foundation, and then painting sort of clicked. And then on some podcast somewhere about concept art or some video, it's probably YouTube video because they're out. There's millions of them out there on how to be a concept artist and all that. Somebody suggested taking 2 genres or 2 IP and smash them together to make your own sort of portfolio piece. And I don't remember exactly why Wizard of Oz was the one that I picked, but
wasn't it because of your wife? I think I remember you telling me it was because she was reading or had read or was very into the Wizard of Oz at the time or something like that.
Well, that's possible because I know she has the big thick novel that has all of them together, and maybe she was reading through that at the time. I don't remember that specific detail, but I do remember there being. I was playing Tom Clancy's The Division, and I just sort of was like, what if I put these two together? And I had this idea of Wizard of Oz as if it were a video game where each of the 4 main characters is a class, like a shooter. So, Dorothy would be your regular assault rifle, and it made sense that Scarecrow would be in a ghillie suit and with a sniper rifle, and the big heavy guy with the heavy guns would be the Lion, and then the Tin Man could be like the guy that makes bombs and stuff, and he's a little crazy. So that's sort of how it happened, and I thought I can make this into maybe like an art piece where I just do a few pieces and it becomes a portfolio piece. And then I was watching a show on Twitch from a couple of guys named Dave Raposa and Daniel Johnson, and they were saying, basically, they were talking to me. They said, hey, you out there with that idea where you're just going to make an art book out of it. Nobody's going to buy it because it's for an IP that nobody knows. It's not a thing. As much as you like it, art books sell to artists, and you want to make your product as big as you can to sell to the widest audience you can. So I was like, okay, I know how to make comic books. And more people like comic books than just plain old art books.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I'll make it a comic. And I said, I don't want to write this thing. Like I had rough ideas, world. I tend to, when I do write, I tend to write, this is the world it's set in, and this is like I don't go deep into lore, but I just try to world build a little bit and sort of put my characters in that place and see what they do. And I had come up with this rough outline, rough character descriptions, and then Zeb and I met because my first professional lettering gig was on a book that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sort of were like, hey, let's, it takes two to tango here. Let's make some magic happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said, and I was like, if I'm going to do comics again, it was all about conventions and what I could bring. And because I've kind of stayed in the same Midwestern area, Wichita, Kansas City, a little bit in Oklahoma, sometimes in Texas, but I never really went anywhere else, a little bit in Colorado. But you go to the same shows over and over again, and I don't want to just keep having the same book. So I was like, okay, we have a show in November. Let's get something together. So we have something new. I gave him 2 ideas that I had sort of fleshed out. He said, I think we can get Oz done a little faster. Joke's on him. It's still taking a long time. But we put that together. We made that ash can, and it sort of had blossomed there. He took my idea and really, really made it a whole lot better than I ever could. So
cool. Yeah, it's been 84 years.
Feels like it. I'm sure it feels like it. He's probably like, okay, when is this guy going to turn?
Yeah.
I've seen the art now, and I can say it's absolutely been worth the wait, and it will be, it's going to be something. It's going to be really something. I think one of the main goals, why, I remember that conversation over the beers. Again, whether or not the bottle spun, we'll leave that up to imaginations. But over the conversations of beers, Eric presented 2 ideas. He's like, I got this one idea, which I'm not going to say anything about because it's actually a really good idea too. And it was a hard choice to say, this is a really good original idea, but he had art that backed up this idea that he had of this video game version of, kind of a post-apocalyptic militaristic take of the Wizard of Oz, as I think I was kind of initially summed up. And, it's there on the campaign page now of just, this amazing shot of Scarecrow, who I immediately saw and thought, wow, that guy is going to, I told Eric, and Eric, you can testify this. Like, I immediately told him, this is going to be the guy who everybody's like, I want to dress up like this dude for Halloween. Like, this guy got this look that's like a grifter, and this kind of like whole like hidden persona that just draws you in. And not to mention the rest of the character designs, and then this completely different take on Toto. And it really sort of just grabs you artistically. Obviously, Eric is a very talented artist, so it visually grabbed me in a way that was like, wow, just that premise of a post-apocalyptic take with this sort of a trajectory in mind just is a world we can build that doesn't just take the Wizard of Oz and then try to capitalize on the name, which is something I think we've both been very very, very focused on doing, is we didn't want to take the Wizard of Oz and say, hey, everybody knows that, right? Well, let's just put kind of a cheap skin on that. It's our own product. We really wanted to go back and see what made the Wizard of Oz good and what drew us to it, what drew me to it as the writer, and then manipulate and mold, take the clay and heat that clay up back to its original form, and then remold it in a way that feels true but original at the same time, which is intimidating to say the least. But I'm very happy with what we have thus far.
Yeah, it's been for sure. There's been a very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not a writer. I don't know all the words.
Yeah, words. How do they work?
It's been a very specific goal of mine to not be obviously the Wizard of Oz. So in character design, in the way that a lot of the art is obviously what rests on my shoulders, but just the way that we present the book, I really didn't want to have Oz in the title, because it would have been like, the War for Oz or the Battle of Emerald City or whatever. And we had all those ideas, but none of them stuck. And for the longest time, we had finally settled on Operation Zephyr. And there were a lot of people that didn't get the connection of the O and the Z. So I was like, okay, we got that. But it did feel a little clunky in the way it sounded. Comic books to me need to have like a good, punchy, catchy, marketable name. I think that really helps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It turns people's ear, turns their head and says, oh, what's that? That sounds cool. I like the idea of a title of something, just, ooh, that sounds cool, and not really know anything else about it. At least you can get hooked by that. And in this document, I think I have it shared with you, Zeb. There was this Google Doc that we had of like all these different names. And on that list was Battle Brick Road. And it sort of stuck out at me. And I know that I had brought it up to you at once, and you were like, I don't know. Like, we didn't really meet eye to eye on it at first. And I don't remember what prompted the name change officially. Like, when I was like, we got to change it. There was just something to me like, just doesn't feel right. There's something, everything about this book feels great, except the title is just missing a little something. And then I went back to Battle Brick Road, and I mentioned it to Von Klaus. You guys know Von Klaus.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he was like, dude, that's your title. Or I should say, he was like, dude, that's your title.
Dude.
I was like, I think it is, but I'm not sure. So, and he was right. And I changed the name before we launched the campaign.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then, everybody was like, that's such a better title. It's such a better title. And that's always good to, hear that the changes that you make, which is a risky move. People are familiar with it as one name. It's a risky move to change it. But they all like this. It's much better title. And we kept the Operation Zephyr there as like the first, title for book one, and book two will have a different one, and so on.
Yeah.
So, but the whole idea that you can kind of see the name and know, wait, that sounds like it could be an Oz story, but I don't know exactly. So it's that whole thing of, like I was saying, of trying not to just wave the banner that, hey, this is Wizard of Oz, and just get eyeballs that way. I definitely want to make it as subtle as can be. But also when you're pitching it, you kind of have to be like, well, it's Wizard of Oz with guns.
With guns, yeah. Yeah. It is interesting how that is. Like, you have to have that quick tagline. And I actually had comic people telling me, don't do that. Don't say it's Aliens meets Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm like, yeah, but my book is Aliens meets Raiders of the Lost Ark. So what are you going to do? Yeah. But you need, it's all about flavor. You need to give someone a sense of the flavor. You need to be like, it's like lemon juice with avocado. Like, you have to compare it to something so they know what the flavor is. So absolutely. And then where you go from there is like your special brew, your special blend. So yeah, that's awesome to hear about it. And I mean, I remember all of this, and I think people are really excited to see it. But do you have a date when it's gonna roll?
I wish I could have a solid date, but one of the things that I told Zeb, I was like, we can make this relationship happen, but I can't be exclusive.
Oh my gosh!
I said
it was a bottle
at the time, right? It was just starting in terms of lettering. I just started doing, Jawbreakers, Graveyard Shift, but I was starting to pick up more and more work. And the whole time he's like, no, man, take the freelance work. Obviously you need to do that. So even for like a year, for like all of the last half of 2018, when that really started rolling, and then 2019, basically I've been doing more and more each year. So I knew we launched and
we see it.
Yeah. I mean, just
really the patience paid off too, because in that time, Eric also relaunched the Flying Fortress Battle Damaged campaign and raised, an amazing amount for that for a second campaign, and also drew all that much more attention to what was going to be the next project. And so it was a plan of stages that sort of fell into place, but mostly based off of, again, Eric and I initially, I think really the Battle Brick Road conversation, like you said, it took place before you were really picking up steam with the lettering. And so the plan was initially, hey, we'll get right rolling on this kind of thing. And then it was like, hey, actually this is building up. Is like, and there's a part of any instinct of an impatient person where you want to say, no, we need to do this, but it really was absolutely in the best interest of that story of the campaign itself to let it naturally and organically build the sort of steam that it has now that's allowed it to carry to the place that it is. And, just 90%, all of that really is based off of Eric's growth in the community and his ability to become, a fan favorite of basically everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
This. And so as a writer, I've absolutely benefited from that traction that alone has gained us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk a whole other show about your lettering exploits, but I mean, I think what I saw from you did the Unforgettable Tales, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that looked like a year of my life if I had to do that.
No, that was no, I mean, it was just a few days.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, it looked amazing, but you had to like rebuild those fonts, and then sometimes you had to put art there that, that had been covered and then reveal it in a new way. So I mean, that was impressive. That went way beyond just putting words in a bubble. Like that was like a art restoration almost.
Yeah, that was. Well, the first two Unforgettable books were just let me letter over the letters that are there. And that's not fun to do. It's also not. I mean, I won't say it's not easy, because I don't think easy is a good word, but it's not as intuitive or whatever.
Right.
Because if I'm lettering, like right now, I'm lettering Jimmy Reyes's the Page One Comics Dragon Rage, and
awesome.
It's just artwork, and I just throw the letters on, and it's good to go. But with the original two Cyberfrog, Unforgettable 1 and 2, that stuff was hand drawn on 8.5 by 11 paper. It was lettered on that same paper.
Oh, I know it.
Wow.
So
it's lo-fi, to say the least. It's lo-fi.
So I had to go in and put my balloons over Ethan's balloons, because he was like, just make it look good. I was like, I will do my best. But when it came time to do Unforgettable 3, I had the opportunity to really letter it from scratch. And so the artwork was the same, it was drawn on that size, and all the letters were in there as he drew them on the page when he was, 19 or whatever. But the only difference was the artwork that he had were old Xerox copies of the originals. So he asked me if I could clean up the artwork, and I said, yeah, of course, I'll clean up the artwork for you, so I could send him to Kyle the color. And then I was like, hey, by the way, since I'm doing this, do you mind if, and it was, do you mind if I remove the balloons that are here so I can letter
the way that you feel it,
like a leash off, and let me, do this how I want to do it. And he said, he gave me the green light, and
that's awesome.
I blazed I burned the midnight oil for a couple of nights to get through those pages just so I could get started. But it was very much like clean up a rough looking Xerox copy and fill in the spots behind where the balloons are with whatever was behind it.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was blown away. I was like, wow, that's actually super impressive, because no one will know. No one will know what a good job you did. But it has to be but it has to be flawless. It still has to be flawless,
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, in order to I wanted to make sure that the artwork was still the integrity of the artwork was still Ethan's. It was still his voice, his lines. So anytime I had to fill in, with very rare exceptions, did I draw it in myself. Anytime I had to fill in anything, let's say like Cyberfrog's hand or his chest or whatever, somewhere in that issue of 3 or in 1 or 2, there would be something that I could fit. So I would take basically a snip of, in the example I put up on Twitter, Cyberfrog's hand is in the foreground, and there's a bunch of captions in front of his hand. So and if you know Cyberfrog's hand, it's got all that piping on it and the big bulbs and then more piping. And so what I did is I found other drawings from within that book or one of the previous ones, and I would, cut out the finger and paste it in on the new one and fill in the holes that way. And then just stitch it together with, fill in a little black here or a little white there, and just make it look. And that way the line art is still Ethan's, and I didn't feel like I was like trying to
adding to it.
Yeah, like it was 99% still his, even if he didn't draw it at that time in that specific spot on the page. And then I guess it allowed Kyle to color it and me to letter it as naturally as we could. Kyle didn't have to worry about filling in Cyberfrog's word balloons and all all of that. So yeah,
You deserve like an artistic surgeon credit or something.
yeah. I picture I was like Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters too.
Yeah, and that's not a comparison that's often made. I mean, most people cherish her work in Ghostbusters 1, but no. Yeah, no, I mean, I just thought that, just in case anybody's like, yeah, we all know you've been busy, right? It's been a busy year for you, but wow, that project alone would have filled up some people's whole schedule,
Long story short, and that's why I didn't put a date on the campaign either.
Yeah.
And not every backer can know that, because I know not every backer comes from CG. Some of them just sort of stumble on the project, or found me on Twitch or whatever and don't know. But the very specific, like, I can't give you a solid date because, like, this week, for instance, I was like, all right, so over the weekend I got a lot of drawing done, and that's great. I have a lot of progress on the second half of the book, and I was like, all right, Monday's here. I know that I have 2 projects I need to work on lettering wise, but other than that, I'm free to go. And then Monday morning, 3 jobs. So like, hey, can you do this, this, and this? Like, yeah, I got to. Because I can't say no, because then it's like, I got a mortgage and I got bills, and this is what pays the bills. So I just gotta, I gotta take it when I got it. So.
All right, let's take an art break. Jim, are you drawing something?
I'm just doodling.
What are you doing? What are you doodling over there?
Well, it started with this. It's working its way to this.
Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
This is, like I say, this is the campfire. You could whittle something sitting around there, and then the end just throw it in the fire and say, hey, it was a good hangout. We chatted, we talked, or something good come by. All right, let me see if I can put mine up. I'll show you.
I just did that just now. This piece right here.
Oh, nice.
And the time you were talking, I just did
That's good. That's good. I like it.
I'm incredibly fast.
I think you should give your colorist a race. All right. Let me see if I can. So here's mine. It's coming along.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you flip it?
Yeah, I did. I made it a left-handed guitar in this version.
All right.
This is Tony Iommi, and he's like giving the sign. He's got the sword of Gandalf. I tried to make the guitar foreshortened, of course, with a person of my skills. That's touch and go. But again, it's like when it's all said and done, it's going to look like a piece of van art or goofing off in high school drawing on your textbook art. But all my work kind of looks like that, so it's good. I'm happy with it. But I like to come up with a concept, like Gandalf, but it's Tony Iommi, and just sort of play with that. And both archetypal figures from the 70s. It works. I
like it.
And Sabbath, the song "The Wizard." So yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz, but with guns. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let me wrap a little bit about Tales of Zero, because just as similar how something goes from an idea to like something that's in the works. But I grew up reading comics at the age of, like, my best years of reading comics was like 10, 11, 12 into 13. Then I started playing guitar, right? And then once I started playing guitar, like, I didn't read that many comics, right? Because I thought that, like all of us, I think we thought the girls would notice us more for playing guitar than reading comics, right? But I did read all of H.P. Lovecraft, from about the age of 13, 14, or 15. I read everything. I went to every library, complete works, just read it all. And I just loved it. And then somehow in all that nerdish behavior, because believe me, I'm talking about the nerdiest person you ever saw. I'm not trying to make myself sound cool. That's something people might not understand. But like being into comics and stuff like that back in those days, it did not make you cool. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Okay, let's no one forget.
Oh yeah,
you were there. It wasn't
I was known as comic book man. On
there was no cool. There was no cred for being into anime back then. What we called it, and with no disrespect, and and I was into that too, of course, and like it wasn't cool. What am I going with this story? Okay, somehow I managed to be a huge Lovecraft fan, and I never heard of Clark Ashton Smith. So something went terribly wrong. But I stumbled on Clark Ashton Smith a couple years ago, and he's like, I call him in one of my videos the California Lovecraft. So he was one of Lovecraft's favorite people. They wrote letters back and forth all the time. And he was in California, and he basically lived in this I guess you would almost call it like a log cabin, like a farmhouse that didn't have running water. And he lived there his entire life. He grew up there. He basically was kind of self-taught. And my God, what a genius. What a genius. His books are amazing. His world building, his characters, just incredible. So it's like finding a whole new artist who's as like rich as Lovecraft in the same vein, but has his totally own spin on everything.
Yeah,
So
you recently turned me on to him. Yeah,
oh my gosh. No problem. Well, horror, there's an amazing, podcast,
another rabbit hole.
Horror Babble. I don't know if you ever listen to it, but Horror Babble is like amazing, and they do a lot of the weird tales stuff from the 30s, and so that's what Tales of Zero is about. It's basically, I was telling, I think on another stream, Hex, I was saying that everything that we saw in the 80s on cable or on VHS that was sci-fi and was like blowing our minds, people wrote about it in the 30s.
Right. Yeah.
In pulp magazines, these pulp magazines, their sci-fi was like everything we thought was new. They did it already.
Whether it's even like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon,
oh my God,
80s shows and movies.
And they're so cool because they were just envisioning it. They didn't have any references technologically for how any of it would even work. But they just like describe stuff, and it's so good. So there's one story that Clark Ashton Smith has. It's called The Vaults of Yovombis. And it literally is the plot to the movie Alien, even down to the face huggers, right? It's unbelievable. So anyway, he wrote this piece. It's called The Tale of Satampra Zeros. And so Satampra Zeros is a thief, and he's telling you this story, and he sits you down and he says, we were in the tavern and we drank too much pomegranate wine. And my buddy and I said, what would be fun? Let's go break into the ancient alien city and steal the frog idol of Zathagwa. And so that's the idea. Oh, we've all been there. Hell yeah. So, so that's the setup of Tales of Zero. So I took Clark Ashton Smith, The Tale of Satampra Zeros, but I turned Satampra Zeros into kind of like a Bruce Willis construction worker, but also like a very, very charming con man. Because the original Satampra Zeros was a thief. So instead of my guy being a thief, he's just sort of an opportunistic, con man. And then kind of put it in a diesel punk future. And once I met up with my artists and we started doing pages, we were just like, ooh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And so I'm trying to cultivate, a different art style than I see anybody doing. Again, I grew up in the times like reading the Demon Bear and a lot of stuff. I'm actually going to show some of these things, like how panels used to look, like lines didn't line up, colors didn't line up, halftone dots didn't line up. And that was what made it like 3D to me as a kid, because you're seeing the colors, they don't quite line up, and the lines don't line up, and you're trying to look deep into the panel. It's like one of those magic eye things, And then you see that same comic, whether it's Sienkiewicz, Demon Bear, or whatever, and you see it in the trade paperback, and they cleaned up all the lines, they made the colors solid, and it looks like garbage. I cannot believe that Sienkiewicz. I would have Marvel burn those. It's like taking the Vincent Van Gogh and saying like, well, clouds don't really look like that. And, the constellations aren't really like that.
Well, to be fair, though, that old stuff got messed up in the process. It wasn't made to look like that.
Oh, I know.
So,
but it's
funny is, though, you bring that up, though, because there was a time in Flying Fortress when we did a web comic version where we did all that stuff to make it look like it was printed.
Look old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. It's not that it was done on purpose, but I liken it to like a Polaroid. You take a Polaroid of a birthday party and all you see is like this overblown area with the candle, half of someone's face, and then like blackness and blurs.
Yeah.
But there's more emotion, right? All the memories come back when you see that. So
right, I would say it's kind of akin to what I feel every time I watch the Star Wars original trilogy versus watching like the prequels. You in the roughness and in the B movie quality and in the rush and the stress and the financial destitution, you create something impenetrably, great. You can't recapture that with millions and with all the money in the world and all the best technology in the world. You cannot recapture that.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, and also like I'm trying to pattern a little bit of it on all those horror comics, like they had like House of Mystery in the 70s, and Marvel had them, DC had them, and they were just so great, and they were just the extension of those pulp stories. They were literally the same kind of genre. Then the last thing I'll say about just the worldview of Tales of Zero is if you ever go back and read the comics from the 40s, guess what? They were so intense. Violence, sexuality, brutality, exploitation. Holy cow. If you think the 40s were mild, they had the comic book code. When was that? In the 50s, right?
Yep.
They had the comic book because the 40s were so brutal. Go read some crime comics from the 40s. Jesus, it's murder, it's beheadings, it's salacious. It's literally salacious. And so like that stuff is awesome. There's like that pulp quality is really amazing. And I've also, since delving more into Clark Ashton Smith, the third person in the Lovecraft circle was Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. And so they were like the three amigos, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, and Lovecraft. And wow, man, I have gotten so inspired by the original Conan stories. They are so powerful. It's unbelievable. I had no clue how good those original stories were, So that's another person. Robert E. Howard had that ability to create dialogue that feels like you're being punched in the face, Like he has his character speak and you like wince, It's just so punchy and percussive. Like
David Mamet.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
Like and Robert E. Howard, those guys, they used to write comics and stuff that were just about boxing. And so like he can do a fight scene, right? He can tell you a fight scene in words, no pictures. And it's so like gripping. So I just think he's another person I really look up to in terms of a person with the gift of words to make this thing come alive, to make a world come alive, and also just to make you feel it. When someone gets hit or punched, you feel it. So yeah, I guess I'm like a throwback. My childhood and geek culture is the 1980s, but like right now I'm in a love affair with the 30s. So yeah, I'm a dinosaur. I'm a dinosaur. But that's a little bit about my world. But it's so cool to hear like where people's entry points are to like their inspiration and stuff, So the challenge with Lovecraft is that every Lovecraft story peaks with, and then I beheld a vision so horrible it could not be described. That's everyone. And then I stood upon an abyss of a gateway to a world that cannot be visualized. So that's why Lovecraft comics are always kind of a losing bet, because he literally tells you you can't describe the thing I'm talking about, so you surely can't draw it. But Clark Ashton Smith is an amazing. So he's sort of like a whole untapped world that I'm really excited about, So that's where I'm coming from, and I hope people get into it and enjoy it. And then with Nephilim Squadron, I mean, now Hex, you had this video game. Is that still going to happen? Shield Sword Net, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get back to working on it after this campaign.
But Nephilim Squadron has been kicking around in your head for a long time, though, right?
Oh yeah, for 30 years.
That's all.
Yeah, 30 years of world building, and finally got him around to doing it. Yeah, this is it, man.
Well, like I always say, this is the year, man. If you're gonna make your thing come to life, do it in 2021, man. Because I've been lurking and I've been watching a lot of the stuff go down. So from before the first Cyberfrog campaign, I've watched all of this stuff go down. I've seen like how people have like alliances and then they turn on each other and like, oh my gosh. And then but it's just like, what never gets old is getting excited about your storytelling, getting excited about the world you're building, and just trying to get other people excited about it. That never goes out of style. Oh, yeah. So a lot of the people that I was inspired by 4 years ago, I still think they're awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like little clicks and bickering, it comes and goes. But the people with a good story to tell, you can spot them a mile away, right? And so
right here in our presence.
Oh, well, especially here. I mean, especially here. But like, I admire like Narwhal. Narwhal's a guy where he doesn't. You don't need to know his name. You don't need to know what his real name is. He's Narwhal. You look at his art. You're like, okay, that's Narwhal. And I kind of aspire to be like that. I want to be known as somebody where like you don't have to know my real name, but once you see like the way I do things, you'll be like, oh, that's that guy. You either like it, you don't, but it's going to have a certain flair. So there's just so much talent out there right now, and I think this is the time. All the road is wide open. The big two have basically squandered their at bat. You know what I mean? Like they have really just left the field wide open.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. If you can't seize this opportunity, this is the time. So anyway, yeah. So what about what you say that there might be more installments in the Battle Brick Road universe, Eric?
Yeah. This is as of right now, a 4-book story arc to get the whole story out that we have planned.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward, I'm gonna approach it a little differently in terms of when we launch and how much we have done and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely a 4-book story arc, because the first one of what we're working on right now is sort of, it's the setup, but hopefully there's more to it than just a setup. I feel like we travel quite a bit through the Oz story, but it is very much like learning about Dorothy's book. Yeah, because it's learning about her. You first see her as a young girl, and then she grows up, and she's trying to find what happened to Dad, where is he? I'm trying to find him, and then she discovers Oz. You get that, and then you get a little bit of a little scarecrow in there as well. But we don't get the full crew until the next issue, the next book. So it's a full tapestry, and I've been. It's one of the things that has been very. I've tried to been very open with even in just the marketing and pitching of the book, is like, this is more than just this one book, and you're not going to see Lion and Tin Man in this. And I say that, and of course, so we get the Kenneth Rookfort cover. And
they're in there.
Come on, you're killing me, Smalls. But yes, in short order, yes, there's definitely a grand tapestry that Zeb has weaved, because I gave him very little, I would say, in terms to tee off with, and I'm sure he can explain more of just poring over the original book and trying to extract what he could to make it the idea, the vision that I had, and sort of mash them together.
Cool. Well, yeah. What about your script writing? Because Zeb, earlier you said you come from songwriting, but what about comic script? It's like a screenplay, but it's not a screenplay. Sure. So how much do you get into like descriptions and panels and panel flow, and how much do you leave to Eric?
Sure. This was the first project, aside from Eric had mentioned lettering for another book that I'm the writer for, but in terms of the creative collaborative process, each team is different. And I think that's something I learned from songwriting, is every bass player might be great at bass, but one guy you're going to click with in a different way. And you have to, as a creative individual, our egos can get caught up in our vision so quickly. Like I could at any moment have just been so certain of the way I saw a thing that it was like time to go to war for it. But the best thing ultimately is usually somewhere in the middle, because it's about the story, not about my idea. So when Eric comes back and counters with it's that moment. It's an opportunity to realize that there's this great strength in that collaborative process that comes from seeing it a different way. And so in approaching Battle Brick Road with Eric, it's honestly changed over time. I work with another artist as well, and my layouts and my panel descriptions are a lot more descriptive, I will say, than what I need to give Eric.
Right.
Give Eric, and what we found is actually starting to work, I think, and it's an organic process. So what the script writing format that I had in book one is going to be different in some senses when I approach the next section to go back and go through it, because Eric is a different artist, and he's an artist who has a mind that creatively sees things, specifically when it comes to action sequences. We got to this place in this where it was like I'd go through several iterations of an action sequence in my mind or thought, and then at the end, other things, it just become too cumbersome on Eric. He'd be reading it and saying, I don't know, I think I can see it this way, and why do you have it laid out with a 4-panel design? I can see it really like this. And so it became more of like, you know what, let's just do this. Here's the starting point for this page. Here's kind of what the motion is going to be, and here's where this page sort of needs to end up in order for us to carry the flow forward. And you do what you think visually looks best. And so that's kind of what a lot of the scenes in Oz are going to be based off of, is a really organic sort of structure where it feels more cinematic in a way. Like I feel like there's this script aspect to it that's more dynamic in the sense that I'm just in some places saying, this is what needs conveyed visually. You're the cinematographer. You convey that in a way that is beyond what I am. It's not my job in a sense. I have certain panels maybe that I'm more of a, like I see this harder than others, but in general, it's really about just turning over that control and turning over what was, 3 years basically of story development, of character development, of rewrites, of restructuring. And you get really attached and to certain ideas, and then handing that over is, you have to have that trust with the person you're working with, or, quite simply, it just won't work. And so it's fun. It's fun then to turn around and then see a page come to life, and it takes a totally different air when I get a preview from Eric when he's sending me pages and saying, well, how's this look? And it's just like, wow, it's a story now it's a story. And it's really fun. It's a fun process. It's kind of like Christmas when I get those panels and those pages. It's just like this next picture of this thing that I'm just very excited for the world to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been very freeing to not have to be so rigid with what Zev has written, because there are, he's writing the script, and when the first drafts of the script, there were a lot of like camera angles and like, we want to do this from this angle and this from that angle, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I ignore most of those?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. I don't know if he was truly okay with it until he saw what the end product was, but like there are probably a dozen examples of me making a different suggestion, or I guess, for lack of a better term, pushing back on what Zev has written and saying, okay, like, I see what you're doing, but what if this, or what if that? And
usually what it is it's an emotional same, but a panel layout that conveys it better in a way that, like, as I was saying, I'm not the cinematographer. So and that's really, I think, as the writer, what becomes important is, okay, is this evoking the tone or the feeling or the movement, not necessarily the angle. And a lot of times those angles were like, just in my mind's eye, this is what speaks this emotion. And then Eric comes along with this other angle. It's like, oh, wow, that's way better. Of course, do that. Like that. That is a much better way of capturing that same feeling. And there's several panels I can think of off the top that come to mind with even the first chapter of the book, which, by the way, is kind of how these will be structured. As Eric mentioned, there will be 4 volumes as it's laid out currently to tell our version of the whole Wizard of Oz. And each of those volumes we've broken up into 2 separate distinct chapters. So you kind of have a nice spot where you can take a break, but also, our natural resting place to pick up from. And so each volume will, again, have 2 chapters attached to it. And it's been really cool to see how those moments that Eric has captured specifically in book 1. I can think of several that just evoke this feeling. Like, Eric, how much do you have on the Indiegogo in terms of any of the final motions of that first chapter? Have you put any of that art up? I don't know what to really talk about and what not to talk about when it comes.
I think if you describe it, nobody, just describe it. We'll imagine.
We have from the dust storm to the splash on page 67, dust storm, to when the guy drops in from the helicopter thing.
Okay.
And so when he stands in front of the car and presses the button to make the orb, the force field, it's the page before the force field is made.
Gotcha. Wonderful. And, that's something that we had a fun time doing too with this first book, is establishing, from a writing side, what is this world? What is our time frame? What is the aesthetic? And one of the things that always stood out the most to me is the barrenness of, like, sort of that Kansas landscape that you get in the movie because of the product of its time. A real kind of like a Dust Bowl vibe is present in some of those early movie shots. And then in reading through the book and seeing how it was constructed, it was really fun to be able to take that first chapter and kind of say, here's the world that Dorothy comes from. How do we reinvigorate that with this new life? And so the premise is that this is a world in which the Dust Bowl, more or less, never ended.
Yeah.
And the great storms that raged throughout the center of our country, throughout the great American desert, ultimately turned it into just that over the course of decades of giant dust storms, which I don't know how much you might know about the dust storms, but they were an incredible thing. I mean, the people, when they first saw them, thought the world was ending, because it's just this literal black, purple, bruised colored mass, miles wide and miles tall, coming at you with lightning discharging from the static buildup inside.
Oh, wow.
And it's charged the atmosphere so much in those days. It was so dry and the static was so strong that you couldn't even shake a person's hand without it knocking you flat on your ass from the static discharge. People drug chains from their cars to keep them grounded so that the engines wouldn't short out in the condition. So it's just this crazy time where people are tying ropes from their hen houses to their house so they can find their way back and forth during dust storms that rage for days at times to try to take care of their animals, and just this complete sense of oppression. And so kind of bringing that to Oz, saying, okay, well, what if that's our world? What if our world is built on the idea that dust storms never ended, and all of the Midwest is literally, St. Louis is under waves of dust that crust up the skyscrapers, and where our world is one in which everybody has been forced to the coasts. And so what do we do with a space like that? And then what kind of desperation does that build into Dorothy? And then what does that say about what her role can be what is Oz? What does Oz represent to a planet, to an apocalyptic United States? And sort of building what is a historical sort of fictitious take of what happens in this world. And that's kind of where the rough basis of it began in my mind, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys, I'm going to just make a comment that I usually like to go to 1, but my computer is looking really weak. I'm wondering if I'm going to get kicked out of my own show. So if that happens, I think you guys will still be here. So I'm going to try to have my phone and I'm going to call in. This is a high-tech operation. I'm going to call into my own show on my phone. That way, if I get kicked off, I'll still be here. Isn't that great? Don't you just love this? It's like MacGyver in this stuff right here.
Modern technology.
Oh, it is. But it's funny. It's just something. I can't even share I couldn't even play my theme song. What a bummer. But anyway, so hopefully I'll be here, and if I can catch it, I'll put myself on. But yeah, but if everything goes wrong and we do just lose each other, I already just want to thank everybody. This has been an awesome conversation. I like bringing people together who maybe have never spoken before. I just think it's really fun to actually have people meet on the plane of creativity. We're like, I don't know you, you don't know me, but we're both creative people. Like, what happens when we talk? Where a lot of comic live streams are like, it's more like a lot of the inside jokes that everybody already knows. And so I kind of like when you don't have the same inside jokes, what are you going to talk about? You're actually going to talk about your ideas. You're going to talk about like creativity and stuff. So I hope you guys appreciate my approach, which is very low key, and it might not be the most gripping hour of live YouTubing unless you're like a creative person, and then you might find it totally gripping, because that's all we're doing is getting onto the creative vibe, and and you might even get some artwork too. So
great. I've had a blast. This has been fun.
Good. Yeah. Well, hopefully I won't get kicked out. Hopefully we'll have 17 minutes more to this episode, but just in case, I want to just
sure. Well, I appreciate you having us on as well. It is great. I personally very much enjoy your format.
Thanks.
The vibe of sitting around the digital campfire is one that I think you can kind of have the space to really relax and enjoy it and not feel like you're just trying to answer questions real quickly. And I haven't actually had to do many of these and had the opportunity to, I should say. I still work a full-time job on top of what I do creatively. And so it's been great to be able to be a part of this one.
No, totally. Well, you can see by my view count, I'm not the world's most popular YouTuber, but I think I have good taste in guests. And I think that what that means is over time, people can look back and be like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that was like a whole string of really awesome people who just talked about their ideas, and so I think that there is something really good that's coming out of this, even if I'm not, burning up the YouTube view count.
Well,
Sure.
the
This is an
YouTube
important
game is
service you're
difficult
doing.
to play for sure. So, I have, what am I trying to say? I have adjusted course, so to speak, on my own plans for YouTube, and I've switched sort
Oh
of.
yeah, you have your new gentleman. What's it called? Your new channel.
Yeah, so I'm doing that show with Vaughn on Thursday, Friday mornings.
Oh
And then
yeah.
I do my drawing stuff on Twitch. And then I will be doing more once I get this book done, I'll have some time to do some lettering videos for my actual lettering channel on YouTube too. And that's not going to be any live content or anything, but yeah, definitely. I sort of wandered the streets trying to figure out what I want to do with my YouTube channel and doing the news of the day, nerd news of the day, or whatever, that wasn't really speaking to me. But having content that I could feel like would be a little bit more evergreen, a how to do XYZ. He did get dropped. There he went.
All right.
You're in control. Actually, you're not in control.
Oh, great. You're stuck on looking at my horrible art. Way to go.
There he is in the chat. He's in the chat.
He's in the chat.
Hey.
All right.
Welcome to the show, Purple Smurf 13.
Tim, what are you using? I hate this question, but what brush are you using?
I'm actually using a ballpoint pen.
Is it native to, or did you?
No, I think it's part of Fendon. I believe is the package.
I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it's just like
crisp.
When I'm getting really sloppy in the beginning, and then I'll go to like a
there it is.
somewhat 2H ish pencil.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And then
I have it. I have the friended set, so here we go.
Yeah, I think it's look under the inks. I believe.
No, I got it.
Okay, there's Hex's. You got to see Hex's wizard. You got to hold that up again.
Oh, yeah. Too bad. Too bad you can't blow it up.
There we go. I wish I could.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is sort of an elven wizard.
I like it.
Elven rock and roll wizard.
It's got like an old school Magic the Gathering card art style to it. I really like that.
Thank you. Well,
the show is ours now.
Yeah. So,
too bad I can't share my screen.
I could have played Purple Smurf's theme. I have it at least on the tail end of the video, but I can't share my screen and show it or anything. So,
are you gonna jump on the phone, Purple Smurf? Oh, I think he's leaving.
Let's do it. Well, I can't. You have to be in here to share my screen to be able to do it. So,
yeah.
No.
And I'll be honest, I haven't been drawing a wizard, but I've been drawing a Wizard of Oz book. So, hopefully that's still on theme. I've been drawing a. I'm stuck in the chat. I think it ends when the host leaves. I think it prattles on for a couple of minutes and then the stream
and then kicks us off.
I think.
Otherwise,
we're all stuck here all night.
Yeah, otherwise we can't leave now. This is our own.
Yes.
Or at least one of us is.
Welcome to my nightmare. Stuck with me. Oh, hey, there we go. I think we're being taken out one by one.
And then there were 3.
Who's gonna jump next?
No.
Well, Hex, it was great to meet you. Is your book available currently?
Yeah, it's on Indiegogo in demand.
Okay, great.
You can just type in the word Nephilim into the search bar, and that should be the first thing that comes up.
Excellent. Yeah, I will search that out. Check it out.
Yeah, please do, and tell everybody you know.
Absolutely.
Trying to get more eyes on it.
That's the trouble. I wish more people were able to see everybody's books. There's a lot of great stuff out there that just doesn't get the attention it should. Yeah,
I just discovered a new project called Fiendish just today, and it looks amazing. It's like some sword and sorcery with elves and kind of done in a manga style, but American manga, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks really great.
Fiendish. Sounds
Fiendish.
familiar.
F-I, yeah, Fiendish.
Sounds familiar.
Chapter 1, Demons. Yeah. Oh, there's so much good stuff out there, and it's just like popping out of nowhere.
Yeah, this year was big. Like I think Michael Bancroft was saying that, I don't know if he was exaggerating, but I don't believe he was, because it sounds true. He said that since the beginning of the year, 50 projects have launched.
Mm-hmm. That sounds
That's
right.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I know. I launched in
crowded out there.
November, and I've heard that that's the kiss of death. But I wanted to get in as quickly as I could, so I could fulfill this year. So so far, my campaign's been active 4.5 months, so it's not too bad. I just don't want to be in demand for like another 8 months or something.
Yeah.
But I plan
Trust me,
on
you don't. You want
being
the
ready
book
for print
done.
by end of May.
I said you don't want to be in demand that long. Trust me, I am speaking from experience. You want to be able to give the people what they want. You want to be able to get the book in their hands.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure. That's for sure. Oh man, that'll be a relief. But then you start all over again.
Yep. That's what what I'll be doing. Like, hopefully be able to take a small break for, there's going to be fulfillment, which Zeb, buckle up, because you're going to earn your keep when it's time for fulfillment. We are. Oh, you don't know this. This is new news for Zeb and most people watching, I think. Hey, Don Chin's in the chat. He says, "Where's the Smurf?" This is our chat now, Don.
Hey, what's up, Don?
So we have a trading card being drawn right now, a Thea Gale trading card being drawn by Clayton Barton from howtodrawcomics.net. And if I could, can I? Maybe I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. I can share my screen. Hold on a sec. I have ways. I have magical ways.
Really?
If I can get StreamYard to open, I think I can switch my camera source, and I think we'll be okay. If I go away. All right. Virtual cam start.
Smurf has been banished to the chat.
Now.
Oh.
Yeah, great.
Well, now that I'm taking over, let me tell you about Nephilim Squadron.
Go for
Here's
it.
the pitch. Oh, wait, where is it? Nephilim Squadron, an action-packed, hard science fantasy epic that is more than it appears to be. It's taking inspiration from heavy metal magazine, 80s anime and manga like Macross and Area 88. It's an action-packed hard science. I'm calling it hard science fantasy, and it's a story that focuses on the personal journey of a clone pilot's desire for a soul. And it takes place on a planet colonized by humans in the 28th century, and over generations, the colonists have established a civilization, but they've also been fighting a war with the native beings on the planet. The thing is, there was never supposed to be any intelligent, sentient life on this planet in order for humans to colonize it in the first place. And then you enter a third party, the Sol Interstellar Forces. They're a Star Trek Federation-like organization, and they're sent in there to find out how and why the civilization on this planet have awakened this strange and rapidly evolving species and started a war with it. So that's the overall plot.
How many pages is it?
This chapter is 32 pages, and it's for this campaign. This is just chapter 1 of a larger saga, and the plan is for me to launch the volume 1 later in the summer, which is chapters 1 through 3 in color. So this campaign is just the teaser, sort of, my tossing my fishing line and to see if anybody bites and is interested. So far, it's doing pretty well.
That's good. It's good to have my magic's not working. I can't now. I think my camera's not working at all. So, there it is. I thought I could get virtual cam to do its thing, but it's not obeying me. I have another option. Hold on. I have another option. There we go. I have some tricks.
Good night, Eddie Winkler. An unusual and great stream, says Apex Comics.
Yeah. Hey, are you coming back in here, or
can you?
Is it just? Are we done? Are we?
I think he's out for the duration.
Okay, so we can just leave. I don't know.
You want to take it away, Eric?
Sure. Hold on.
See if you can get your screen share to work, and if not, we can.
Let me see that real quick. I have a different way of trying it. So, there we go.
There it is.
Oh, hey now.
So this is what I've been working on. Zev, this is page 4 of chapter 2 when he's entering Eastwich. You had it drawn as a splash, and for the life of me, I had a lot of layouts I liked, so I put them all in on one page.
Oh, nice.
Instead of making one splash page.
It works.
Yeah, so she's going to go in ready. She's running from the munchkins, if you will. And we can show off some stuff. Avert your eyes if you want no spoilers. Sketchy spoilers. Page 1 is
are the munchkins actually giants?
What's that?
They are not giants.
Not giants.
Thought you were gonna subvert our expectations.
Maybe a little, but not like that. So this page here in blue is currently on my drafting board being inked, but I got real busy with the lettering thing, so that unfortunately got put on hold because it's the most I can zoom in. So this is updated from what Zev has seen, so he's seeing this for the first time in a while.
Can you zoom in on your screen a little bit on yours at all?
Yeah, I guess I can. I'd have to bring him up page by page, though. Hold on. Because is this big enough on this side?
Yes.
All right, let me do that.
Oh, yeah.
I struggled for the life of me on how to figure out what the heck, how to draw a butterfly from underneath.
Yeah. A giant bioluminescent butterfly. Yes.
It was more difficult than you might think to try and find reference for that.
So
I like
Hex, the idea with the munchkins and this is when she lands, she immediately is encountered by somebody, as you can see here, who's trying to break into her escape pod from the outside. She sees this beautiful bioluminescent creature on the outside of her hatch kind of pod window, and as she's transfixed by this first real splash of colors, again, as sort of a homage to the story and to the world of Technicolor that was introduced in the movie, she sees this coming from her own dusty past, and as she looks, a shovel smashes and crushes this beautiful creature, and somebody tries to break in as they're screaming, "Help me, oh God, please help me." They're trying to take her out.
So they're not in control of their own faculties,
but they are controlling of their own mouths for the most part.
Yeah, so their body is
horrible.
In control. But
basically, they don't know when they will be possessed, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
based off of this mind control tether that they are wearing.
Right.
What a life!
Yes, what a life!
What a life indeed.
Imagine, 10 years of that, of not knowing when somebody was going to take control of your emotions, of your speech, of whatever,
and always knowing what you were doing too.
Yeah. Always being watched and never knowing if you're going to be in control from one moment to the next, or just seized as you do your normal thing to do something else.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So my roughs are pretty rough, but this is all of chapter 2. I won't scroll down too far, but yeah, I mean,
there's Scarecrow there.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? No. That's okay. That's yep. I know where we are now. Never mind. I see it. Yep. That's Bach. Okay, great.
So then there's a lot of Dorothy running away. She realized, like, I can't kill these people because they're innocent. Like, she realizes that real quick, that she would be murdering these people and not defending herself. So she's trying to get away, but it's not working out so well.
Yeah. Doesn't work
like a standard zombie movie, you're trying to run away from this, and they're always there. So
Yeah.
this is kind of zombie-esque in a sense, but
very much so. Very hive sort of, yeah.
Hive minds. Yeah,
and we'll see throughout the duration of the story, each of the witches represented each in their own way. And so our story, just like the actual story, will begin in East Oz. So the first witch we will obviously experience is the Witch of the East, and how she's involved with what is apparently not going great in the land of the East with mind-controlled individuals. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Cool.
Do we just leave?
I'm just leaving. It was great to talk to you guys.
All right.
Eric, we'll talk soon. Hex,
Good to meet you,
Here's
Hex.
my Toto.
There's Toto.
Fantastic. All right, everyone, have a good morning.
All right. See you guys. Great to meet you.
You
Talk
too.
to you later.
You too, Hex.